Marcus Johnson walked into the coffee shop with one goal: survive this blind date and get his mother off his back. After his marriage collapsed, he swore off dating entirely. This would be another waste of time. Then he saw her. The woman at the corner table was beautiful, mid-20s, dark brown skin glowing in the afternoon light, her natural hair pulled back into a neat protective style, and very, very pregnant. Marcus froze. He must have the wrong table. But before he could turn around, she stood up and looked directly at him. "You are Marcus, right?" she said. "I am Jasmine. Your date." Marcus stared at her. His brain struggled to process what he was seeing. This was supposed to be a routine blind date, the kind his mother arranged every few months. Show up, make small talk for 30 minutes, politely decline a second meeting, and go home. Simple, safe, forgettable. But there was nothing forgettable about Jasmine Williams standing in front of him with a belly that looked at least 6 months along. She wore a loose cardigan that did nothing to hide the curve. Her expression was calm, almost defiant, as if she expected him to bolt for the door. Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came out. He glanced at the other tables, then back at Jasmine. She gestured to the seat across from her. "Please sit down," Jasmine said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes told a different story. She looked tired. Not physically tired, the kind of tired that came from carrying weight that had nothing to do with pregnancy. Marcus's first instinct was to leave, walk out, text his mother some excuse about a work emergency, but something stopped him. Maybe it was the way Jasmine held herself, shoulders back despite everything, or maybe it was because he recognized that look. He had worn it himself 3 years ago when his marriage fell apart and he became a single father overnight. He pulled out the chair and sat down. The coffee shop was busy for a Saturday afternoon in Oakwood Heights. Couples on laptops, groups of friends laughing too loud, a barista calling out orders in a rhythm that felt almost mechanical. Marcus focused on the noise to avoid looking directly at Jasmine. He did not know what to say. Every polite opening felt absurd given the situation. "I know what you are thinking," Jasmine said. She folded her hands on the table. No wedding ring, no engagement ring, just bare fingers and short, practical nails. Marcus shook his head. "I do not think you do. You are wondering why I am here, why I showed up to a blind date looking like this." Jasmine glanced down at her stomach and back at him. "You are wondering if this is some kind of joke. Is it?" The words came out sharper than he intended. Jasmine's jaw tightened. "No, it is not a joke." Marcus leaned back in his chair. He had agreed to this date under duress. His mother had been relentless for months. Every family dinner ended with the same lecture about how he needed to move on, how his son needed a stable home, how he was wasting his life hiding behind work and excuses. Last week, she delivered an ultimatum. Either he went to this blind date, or she would stop watching his son on weekends. It was emotional blackmail, but it worked. Now he wished he had called her bluff. "Look," Marcus said carefully, "I do not know what your situation is, but I think there has been a misunderstanding. My mother set this up. No, she did not mention that I am pregnant." Jasmine finished. "I am sure she did not. My family did not mention it either when they arranged this." Marcus blinked. "They arranged this. My aunt knows your mother from their sorority chapter reunion committee. She thought we would be a good match." Jasmine's tone was flat, like she was reciting a grocery list. "She convinced my family that meeting someone respectable would fix everything." Fix what? "The fact that I am pregnant and unmarried. Apparently, that is a scandal worth solving with a blind date." Jasmine reached for the glass of water in front of her and took a long drink. Her hand trembled slightly. She set the glass down and met his eyes. "I did not want to come, but my family gave me the same choice yours probably gave you. Show up or face consequences." Marcus felt something shift in his chest. He understood consequences. He understood family pressure. He understood the suffocating weight of other people's expectations. 3 years ago, when his wife left, His family acted like his life was over. They pushed him toward new relationships before he was ready. They treated his grief like a problem that needed immediate solving. "So we are both here against our will," Marcus said. "Looks like it," Jasmine replied. They sat in silence. Not the comfortable kind, the awkward, painful kind where both people were trying to figure out what came next. Marcus glanced at the door. He could still leave, make up an excuse, apologize, and walk away. Jasmine would understand. She looked like she wanted to leave as much as he did. But something kept him in that chair. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the memory of how it felt to be judged, or to have strangers look at him with pity or disdain because he was a single father. Maybe it was because Jasmine looked like she was barely holding it together, and he knew exactly how that felt. "How far along are you?" Marcus asked. The question was invasive, but it was the only thing he could think to say. 7 months, Jasmine said. She rested one hand on her belly. The gesture was protective, instinctive. "It is a girl." Marcus nodded. He did not know what to say to that. Congratulations felt wrong, so did sympathy. And the father, he asked, then immediately regretted it. Jasmine's expression hardened. "Not in the picture. He made that clear when I told him. I am sorry. Do not be. I am better off without him." Jasmine's voice was firm, but Marcus heard the crack underneath. She was lying. Or at least she was trying to convince herself it was true. Marcus understood that too. "I have a son," he said. He did not know why he offered this information. It just came out. "He is 5. His mother left when he was 2. I have been raising him on my own since then." Jasmine looked at him with something that might have been surprise or relief. "So you get it?" "Yeah, I get it." The tension between them shifted slightly. Not gone, but different, less hostile, more like two soldiers in the same trench realizing they were fighting the same battle. A waitress appeared at their table, pen and notepad ready. She looked at Jasmine's belly, then at Marcus, then back at her notepad with a carefully neutral expression. Marcus wondered how many times Jasmine had endured that look in the past 7 months. "Can I get you anything?" the waitress asked. "Just coffee black," Marcus said. "Decaf latte," Jasmine added. "Please." The waitress nodded and disappeared. Marcus watched her go, then turned back to Jasmine. She was staring at her hands, fingers tracing invisible patterns on the table. "So what happens now?" Marcus asked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we are here. We showed up. We can tell our families we did what they asked, but I am guessing neither of us wants to pretend this is going anywhere." Jasmine looked up. "No, I do not want to waste your time, and I do not want to waste yours." They both nodded. It should have been the end of the conversation. Marcus should have stood up, shaken her hand, and left. But he did not move. Neither did Jasmine. "Can I ask you something?" Jasmine said. "Sure. Why did you stay when you saw me? I mean, you could have left. Most guys would have." Marcus considered the question. He could lie. Give her some noble answer about giving people a chance. But Jasmine had been honest with him. She deserved the same. "I do not know," he admitted. "Maybe because I know what it is like to be judged for circumstances you cannot control. Or maybe because you looked like you needed someone to just sit down and not run away." Jasmine's eyes glistened, but she did not cry. She straightened her shoulders and took a breath. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For staying." The waitress returned with their drinks. Marcus wrapped his hands around the hot mug, grateful for something to do. Jasmine sipped her latte carefully, wincing slightly when the foam touched her lip. Marcus made a decision. It was probably stupid. It was definitely going to complicate things. But he made it anyway. "Listen," he said, "we do not have to turn this into something it is not. But if you need someone to talk to, someone who understands, I can do that." Jasmine studied him, searching for something. Maybe sincerity, maybe a trap. "Why would you do that?" she asked. Because 3 years ago, I could have used someone like that, and I did not have it. Jasmine held his gaze for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, she said. Okay, Marcus repeated. They were not dating. They were not falling in love. But something had shifted between them, something fragile and tentative, like the first thread of trust being woven between two people who had every reason not to trust anyone. And for the first time since walking into that coffee shop, Marcus did not feel like he was wasting his time. They sat there longer than either of them expected. The coffee grew lukewarm. The cafe filled with more customers as the afternoon stretched into early evening. Marcus found himself relaxing in ways he had not anticipated. Jasmine was easy to talk to once the initial shock wore off. She did not ask him to fix anything. She did not expect him to be anything other than what he was. That was rare. My family will not let me breathe, Jasmine said after a stretch of comfortable silence. She traced the rim of her empty cup with one finger. They act like this baby is the worst thing that ever happened to them. Not me. Them. Marcus knew that feeling. When his wife left, his parents acted like it was a personal failure, like he had disappointed them by not keeping his marriage together. Never mind that his wife had cheated. Never mind that she walked out without looking back. All that mattered to them was what the church congregation would think, what the neighbors would say at the community cookout. What did they want you to do? Marcus asked. Jasmine let out a bitter laugh. Get married immediately, to anyone respectable who will take me. They keep saying things like, think of the shame and what will people say. My aunt set up 3 blind dates this month alone. You are number 3. How did the first 2 go? One guy literally stood up and left the second he saw me. The other stayed for 10 minutes and spent the entire time lecturing me about responsibility and moral standards. Jasmine's voice was tight. Like I did not already know I screwed up. Like I am not terrified every single day about how I am going to do this alone. Marcus leaned forward. You are not screwing up. You are in a bad situation. There is a difference. My family does not see it that way. To them, having a baby without a husband is worse than anything. They keep talking about how I have disgraced them, how I have ruined their reputation at church. My mother will not even look at me without crying. Jasmine's hand moved to her belly again, that protective gesture that seemed involuntary. She acts like this baby is a punishment instead of a person. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. Not at Jasmine, at her family, at everyone who made her feel like she was something to be ashamed of. When I first became a single dad, people treated me like I was broken, Marcus said. His voice was low but steady. Other parents at the park would give me these looks, half pity, half suspicion, like I could not possibly be capable of raising a kid alone. Or worse, like there must be something wrong with me if my wife left. Jasmine looked at him. Really looked at him. How did you deal with it? Badly. At first, I got defensive. I isolated myself. I stopped going to family gatherings because I was tired of everyone asking if I had started dating yet. Like that was the solution. Like finding another woman would magically fix everything. Marcus picked up his coffee mug, even though it was empty. The weight of it in his hands felt grounding. Eventually, I realized I did not owe anyone an explanation. My life was not anyone's business but mine and my son's. That must have taken a lot of strength, Jasmine said quietly. It took a lot of anger first, then exhaustion. Strength came later. Jasmine nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. Maybe that was exactly where she was now, angry and exhausted and not yet strong enough to stop caring what people thought. Do you ever get lonely? She asked. The question was soft, almost hesitant. Marcus considered lying, saying something brave and independent. But Jasmine had been honest with him. She deserved the same. Every day, he admitted. Not because I want to be with someone, just because it is hard doing everything alone. Making every decision alone, having no one to talk to at the end of the day when my son is asleep and the house is quiet. That kind of lonely. Jasmine's eyes glistened. Yeah, that kind. They both went quiet. Around them, the cafe hummed with other people's lives. A couple 2 tables over laughed at something on a phone. A group of teenagers argued about a video game. The barista called out an order for someone named Keisha. Normal Saturday afternoon sounds, but Marcus and Jasmine sat in their own bubble of understanding. "Can I ask you something?" Jasmine said. She was looking down at her hands, not at him. Of course. Does it get easier? Raising a kid alone. Marcus wanted to tell her yes. He wanted to give her hope. But he had learned that false comfort did more harm than good. Some days are easier than others, he said carefully. The logistics get smoother. You figure out routines. You learn to do things you never thought you could do. But the weight of being the only person responsible for another human being, that does not get lighter. You just get stronger at carrying it. Jasmine absorbed this. She did not look upset. If anything, she looked relieved, like she had been waiting for someone to tell her the truth, instead of feeding her empty promises about how everything would work out fine. "Thank you for being honest," she said. "You are going to be okay," Marcus said. He meant it. He could see it in her. The same stubborn resilience he had found in himself 3 years ago when he realized no one was coming to save him. Jasmine smiled. It was small and sad, but genuine. "I hope so." The moment stretched between them. Something was building. Not romance. Something different. Something like recognition. 2 people who had been walking parallel paths alone, suddenly realizing they were not as isolated as they thought. Then the whispers started. At first, Marcus did not notice. He was too focused on Jasmine, on the conversation, on the strange relief of talking to someone who actually understood. But Jasmine's expression changed. Her shoulders tensed. Her gaze flicked over his shoulder to somewhere behind him. Marcus turned slightly. 2 women at the table behind them were leaning close together, talking in low voices that were not quite low enough. One of them kept glancing at Jasmine. The other had her phone out, screen facing down like she was ready to take a photo. "Just ignore them," Marcus said quietly. But Jasmine was already shrinking. Her body language shifted. She crossed her arms over her chest in a way that made her look smaller, defensive. The confidence she had been building over the past hour evaporated. The whispers grew louder, not enough to be confrontational, just enough to be heard. "Can you believe that?" one of the women said, her voice carrying across the small space between tables. Showing up to a date like that. What was she thinking? "Desperate, probably," the other woman replied, looking for someone to take care of her mistake. Marcus's jaw clenched. He wanted to turn around and say something, but Jasmine grabbed his wrist across the table. Her grip was tight. "Do not," she whispered. "It will just make it worse. They should not be talking about you like that. They are not saying anything I have not heard before." Jasmine's voice was flat, dead, like she had numbed herself to it. That made Marcus angrier than the whispers themselves. More people were noticing now. An older man at the counter glanced over, his expression hard and judgmental. A younger couple near the window exchanged looks and shook their heads. The cafe, which had felt safe and anonymous just minutes ago, suddenly felt like a courtroom. "Oh, poor guy," one of the women behind them said. She was not even trying to be discreet anymore. Probably got tricked into this. She is probably one of those women who baby traps men. Jasmine flinched. Actually flinched like the words were physical blows. Marcus could not stay quiet anymore. "Excuse me," he said, turning in his chair. His voice was calm but cold. The 2 women looked at him with fake innocence. "Do you have something you would like to say to us directly?" The woman with the phone smiled. It was the kind of smile that people used when they knew they had the moral high ground, or thought they did. "We are just having a private conversation." "Does not sound very private," Marcus said. "We are entitled to our opinions." the other woman added. She had the tone of someone who spent a lot of time on social media comment sections. Righteous, certain, opinions about strangers you know nothing about. Marcus's voice was sharper now. "We know enough," the first woman said. She gestured toward Jasmine without looking at her. "We know she is trying to trap some man into taking responsibility for someone else's kid." Jasmine stood up abruptly. Her chair scraped against the floor. The sound cut through the cafe. Conversation stopped. Everyone was looking now. "I need to go," Jasmine said. Her voice cracked. She grabbed her purse from the back of her chair. Marcus stood too. "Jasmine, wait!" But she was already moving toward the door, not running, but close. Her movements were jerky and uncoordinated. Marcus could see her fighting to hold herself together until she was outside. The cafe was silent now, all eyes on Jasmine's retreating back. The judgment was thick enough to choke on. Some people looked away quickly, embarrassed to be caught staring. Others watched openly, their faces displaying everything from pity to disgust to smug satisfaction. Marcus looked at the two women. They were watching Jasmine leave with identical expressions of vindication, like they had done something noble by driving her out. Something snapped inside him, not violently, not dramatically, just a clean break. A line crossed that he could not uncross. He thought about Jasmine walking out of here with this shame carved into her. He thought about her going home to a family that already made her feel worthless. He thought about her sitting alone tonight, 7 months pregnant with a daughter, believing that she deserved to be treated like garbage by strangers. He thought about the last 3 years of his own life, all the times people had judged him, all the times he had stayed quiet, all the times he had let it happen because fighting back felt like too much effort. He was done. Marcus did not look at the two women again. He did not say anything else to them. They were not worth his words. He followed Jasmine. She was almost at the door when he caught up. She had her hand on the handle. Her other hand was pressed against her mouth like she was physically holding back tears. "Jasmine?" Marcus said. She shook her head. "I am fine. I just need to go. You do not have to do this alone." "Yes, I do. That is the whole point. I am alone." Her voice broke on the last word. "And everyone knows it. Everyone can see it. I am the girl who got pregnant and got dumped, and now I am so desperate I am showing up to blind dates, hoping someone will be stupid enough to take me." "That is not what this is," Marcus said firmly. "Then what is it?" Jasmine turned to face him. Tears were streaming down her face now. She did not bother wiping them away. "What am I doing here, Marcus? What are we doing here?" Marcus did not have an answer. Not a good one. Not one that would make sense to anyone watching. But he had something else. Something that felt more important than sense. He had a choice. He could let her walk out, let her carry this humiliation home, let those women win. Let the world keep beating her down until she believed she deserved it. Or he could do something. The cafe behind them was still watching, still whispering, still judging. Marcus made his decision. Marcus turned back toward the cafe. Jasmine was still holding the door handle, frozen between leaving and staying. She looked at him with confusion and fear and something else. Hope, maybe, or the death of it. He could not tell which. "Wait here," Marcus said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "What are you doing?" "Something I should have done 3 years ago when people judged me." Before Jasmine could respond, Marcus walked back into the cafe. Every eye in the room followed him. The two women at the table looked smug. They thought he was coming back to apologize, to make excuses, to distance himself from Jasmine and save whatever dignity he had left. They were wrong. Marcus stopped in the middle of the cafe, right in the center where everyone could see him, where everyone could hear him. The conversations died. Even the barista stopped mid-pour to watch. Marcus looked directly at the two women, then at the older man at the counter, then at the young couple by the window. He looked at every single person who had stared, who had whispered, who had judged. That woman you were all talking about. Marcus's voice carried across the room, clear, steady, loud enough that no one could pretend they did not hear. She is my wife. The silence that followed was absolute. The kind of silence that happens when the world stops spinning for just a second. And that baby she is carrying, Marcus continued. His hands were steady at his sides. His gaze did not waver. That is my daughter. One of the women opened her mouth, then closed it. Her face went red, not from anger, from shame. So if you have something to say about her, Marcus said, his voice dropping lower but losing none of its edge, you are saying it about my family. To my face. Right now. No one spoke. The woman with the phone looked down at her lap. The older man at the counter suddenly found his coffee fascinating. The young couple stared at their own table like they wished they could disappear through the floor. Marcus waited. He let the silence stretch. He let them all sit in the discomfort of what they had done, what they had said, the assumptions they had made about a stranger whose life they knew nothing about. That is what I thought, Marcus said finally. He turned and walked back to the door. His heart was pounding, but his steps were steady. When he reached Jasmine, she was staring at him like she had never seen him before. Her face was wet with tears, but her expression had changed. The shame was gone. In its place was something raw and grateful and overwhelmed. Marcus held the door open. Let us get out of here. Jasmine nodded. She walked through the door and Marcus followed. Behind them, the cafe remained silent. No one whispered. No one took photos. No one said a word. The street outside was busy with weekend traffic in Oakwood Heights. Cars honked. People walked past, talking on phones. A bus rumbled by, leaving a cloud of exhaust. The world was loud and normal and completely indifferent to what had just happened inside that cafe. Jasmine stopped on the sidewalk. She turned to face Marcus. Her hands were shaking. "Why did you do that?" she asked. Her voice was barely audible over the street noise. Marcus shoved his hands in his pockets. The adrenaline was starting to fade, replaced by the strange emptiness that came after doing something irreversible. Because they had no right to treat you that way. You did not have to lie for me. I did not lie, Marcus said. Then he corrected himself. Okay, I lied. But they deserved it. And you deserved someone standing up for you. Jasmine pressed her fingers to her eyes. She was crying again, but trying not to. Her breathing came in short, uneven bursts. I do not even know you. You do not owe me anything. You could have just let me leave. Yeah, I could have. So why did you not? Marcus thought about that. He thought about the last 3 years of his life. The times he had stayed silent when people judged him. The times he had let their opinions chip away at him. The times he had felt small and powerless and alone. Because I spent 3 years being the person who stays silent, Marcus said quietly. And I hated it. I hated feeling like I had to accept every judgment, every whisper, every condescending look, like I did not deserve to defend myself because my life did not fit into their neat little boxes. Jasmine lowered her hands. Her eyes were red, but she was listening. You walked in there today expecting the worst, Marcus continued. You expected me to leave. You expected people to judge you. You expected to be humiliated. And you were right. All of that happened. But you did not deserve any of it. And I am tired of watching people get treated like they are less than human just because their life got complicated. Jasmine's voice came out small. You are a good person. I am not, Marcus said. I am just tired of being a coward. They stood there on the sidewalk while people streamed past them. A mother with 2 kids, an elderly couple walking slowly, a man on a bicycle. None of them knew what had just happened. None of them cared. Jasmine wrapped her arms around herself. The sun was starting to set, casting long shadows across the street. The temperature was dropping. She was not wearing a jacket. "I should go," Jasmine said, but she did not move. "Do you need a ride?" Marcus asked. "No, my car is around the corner, She trailed off, then started again. "Thank you. I do not know how to say it properly, but thank you." Marcus pulled out his phone. His hands moved before his brain caught up. He opened a new contact and held the phone out to Jasmine. "Put your number in." Jasmine stared at the phone. "Why?" "Because maybe you need someone to talk to, someone who understands. And maybe I do too. You do not have to do this out of pity." "It is not pity," Marcus said. He meant it. What he felt looking at Jasmine was not pity. It was recognition. It was respect. It was the strange solidarity of two people who had survived things they should not have had to survive. I do not know what it is, but it is not pity. Jasmine took the phone. Her fingers moved slowly across the screen. She typed in her number and handed it back. Marcus saved it and sent her a quick text so she would have his number too. "If you want to talk," Marcus said, "call me or text, whatever. No pressure, no expectations, just if you need it." Jasmine looked at her phone when it buzzed with his text. Then she looked back up at him. "What if I do call? Then we will talk. And then what?" "I do not know," Marcus admitted. "I have not thought that far ahead." Jasmine almost smiled. It was brief and sad, but real. "Me neither." They stood there in the fading light. Neither of them knew what came next. Neither of them knew if this was the beginning of something or just a strange moment they would both remember years from now as the time a blind date went completely sideways. But something had shifted. Marcus could feel it. The wall Jasmine had been hiding behind was lower now. Not gone, but lower. And his own walls, the ones he had built so carefully after his divorce, had cracks in them. "I should really go," Jasmine said again. This time it sounded more like a goodbye than an escape. "Okay," Marcus said. Jasmine turned to leave. Then she stopped and looked back. "Marcus. Yeah. That thing you said about me being your wife. About the baby being yours." She met his eyes for a second. It felt real. Like maybe that is how it was supposed to be. Someone claiming me instead of being ashamed of me. Marcus's chest tightened. "You are not something to be ashamed of." "I know that now," Jasmine said softly. "Because of you." She walked away before Marcus could respond. He watched her round the corner toward where her car was parked. Then she was gone. The street continued its noise and motion like nothing had happened, like the world had not just tilted slightly on its axis. Marcus stood there for another minute. Then he pulled out his phone and looked at Jasmine's contact. Her name, her number, proof that today had actually happened. He did not know if she would call. He did not know if he wanted her to. He did not know if he was ready to let someone new into his life when he was barely holding his current life together. But he knew one thing. He was done being silent. He was done watching people get torn down by judgment and cruelty and doing nothing about it. He was done believing that his own pain meant he had nothing to offer anyone else. Marcus started walking toward his car. His phone buzzed, a text from his mother asking how the date went. He did not know how to answer that. How did you explain to your mother that the blind date she arranged had turned into something completely unexpected? How did you tell her that you had just claimed a pregnant stranger as your wife in front of a room full of people? He decided he would figure that out later. For now, he just walked. The evening air was cool on his face. Somewhere behind him, Jasmine was driving home. Somewhere ahead, his son was waiting for him. And somewhere in between, two people who had walked into a coffee shop expecting nothing had walked out with something fragile and uncertain, and maybe, just maybe, worth protecting. Sometimes the most unexpected thing was not the pregnancy. It was not the judgment. It was not even the blind date itself. It was the moment when a stranger chose kindness over silence. When someone decided that another person's dignity mattered more than their own comfort. When two lonely people found each other in the wreckage of their separate lives and recognized something familiar. And sometimes that was enough. Not a happy ending, not a promise, just enough to make tomorrow feel a little less impossible than today. Marcus got in his car. He sat there for a moment before starting the engine. Then he drove home wondering if his phone would ring, hoping it would, terrified that it might. The world kept turning, life kept happening, and somewhere in the mess of it all something had begun, had